Have you ever thought about what happens to most people in the 40 days following death? Learning what we're about to share with you during life is crucial so you won't feel lost on the other side of life when your time comes, because inevitably, our time will come. So watch until the end, subscribe to our channel, or simply like the video. It takes a second but helps us keep creating serious spiritual content. Now that you've subscribed and liked the channel, let's begin. Death is not like in the movies, where the soul simply leaves the body and ascends to heaven in a beam of light. The spiritual reality can be much more complex. Many spirits, upon leaving their physical body, don't even realize they have passed away. They feel, see, and hear everything around them as if they were still alive. But something is different. Time seems strange, the people around them don't respond, and a subtle anguish begins to rise. This moment of transition can be smooth for those who have cultivated conscious spirituality, but for those deeply attached to the material world, the experience can become a true nightmare. Imagine someone who dedicated their entire life to money, status, or material pleasures. Suddenly, none of that matters anymore. The sense of powerlessness leads to rebellion and confusion. Some try to touch objects, call out to family members, but no one answers. Desperation grows until they finally realize something is wrong. But what? And it is at this point that many spirits enter a state of disturbance. Some wander aimlessly, trapped in the last emotions they felt at the moment of death. Others refuse to accept their departure and continue haunting familiar places, not understanding their new reality. Now what? What to do? In the first few days after death, it's common for spirits to try and communicate with the living. Some whisper in the ears of their loved ones, try to move objects, provoke temperature changes, or even influence dreams. But most don't know how to deal with this new reality and feel ignored, which generates frustration. More conscious spirits may quickly understand what happened, but those who passed suddenly or with strong attachment to material life may take days or even years to comprehend. This transition period is full of manifestations. How many times have we heard stories of people who felt a presence shortly after losing a loved one, or dreams so real that they seemed like an encounter? These are attempts at communication, some full of love, others full of confusion. Let us know in the comments if you've ever felt something like this. Your comment is important to us and to the hundreds or even thousands of others who will read it. Think about it. Let's look at a few examples to better understand. Imagine an alcoholic who, after years of addiction, dies alone in a state of physical and mental abandonment. When this spirit leaves the body, it carries not only the habits but also the pain and emptiness of addiction. What happens to it? Initially, it may remain stuck in the obsession with alcohol or the feeling of failure. The spirit doesn't yet understand that it has passed, and its search for something to fill the emptiness continues unsuccessfully. Another example is a spirit that dies in a tragic accident. In many cases, sudden death causes a great state of shock. With no time to prepare or say goodbye, this spirit may feel a tremendous sense of helplessness. Some try to revive moments from their life as if the body were still there, making the pain of separation much harder to overcome. This type of death creates a kind of desperation for the continuity of what was interrupted, like a thought line that doesn't end. And what about murders, or those who die with feelings of guilt or remorse? What happens when emotions remain unresolved, pending? Let's imagine the case of a spirit that decides to take its own life due to deep emotional pain or a sense of despair. In the moment of death, this soul may not fully understand what happened. Upon leaving the body, it often finds itself in a state of confusion and anguish, still trapped by the emotional suffering that led to the decision. This spirit may have difficulty understanding that its pain didn't end with the death of the physical body, but rather, the feeling of emptiness and frustration can become even more intense. What happens when someone finds themselves in limbo between life and death, without understanding that the decision to commit suicide didn't bring the peace they were seeking? These examples are not just fictional. Many accounts in spiritual literature, like those of Chico Xavier or other mediums, show how these spirits, with their various death experiences, react in different ways, but all share one common denominator: the lack of understanding of their new reality. Want to know more about this literature and where this knowledge comes from? We'll leave it in a pinned comment. Agreed? Share with someone or in your spiritual group if this content resonated with you in any way. The truth is that spirits who depart with feelings of anger, sadness, or guilt, for example, may face a great obstacle in their journey, and more. This emotional energy doesn't disappear with death, but intensifies and shapes the spiritual experience. Those who pass suddenly, with no time to prepare or say goodbye, may remain trapped in the agitation of their mind. The spirit feels prisoner of unresolved emotions, and the pain of separation becomes a growing weight. As we can imagine, a spirit that dies with heavy regrets or fears about its spiritual journey will be in a constant state of disturbance, unable to move forward. The belief that there's no life after death may be a prison it creates for itself, preventing its evolution. And what about those who left in peace but still carry emotional scars from their previous life? Their journey is less tumultuous but still requires adjustment for the soul to break free from the old bonds. Now, if emotions have such a strong impact, how can we help these souls find peace? When someone passes away, especially if they are still confused or disturbed, the prayers and good vibrations from the living can be the thread of light that guides them to a smoother transition. But how does this work in practice? Let's think about the energy you emit when you pray. Each word, each intention carries a vibrational force that can cross dimensions and reach the spirit that needs help. In spiritualism, it's common to hear that prayer has the power to alleviate the pain of the deceased. We're not talking about empty prayers, but sincere prayers made with a pure heart. When people send good energy or ask for the relief of a lost soul, they help break the invisible chains that bind that spirit to the material plane. A spirit in the umbral, for example, can be rescued by these prayers, receiving help from spiritual entities that guide it towards the path of light. This doesn't mean the soul will be instantly transformed, but prayer creates a field of welcome, making spiritual guidance easier. And if prayers can change the fate of a spirit, what more can we do to help in its journey? While many souls are still reflecting on the life they just lived, others begin to envision their next reincarnation, planning the challenges and lessons they will face. For more evolved spirits, preparation for reincarnation is an opportunity to choose the paths that will help them continue their growth and evolution. They may choose to be born into certain families under specific life conditions, with the goal of working on unresolved aspects or developing deeper virtues. Less evolved spirits, however, often follow more automatic patterns without full awareness of what they are choosing. But this is where they are guided by higher spirits who assist them in this decision-making process. It's important to note that the reincarnation process doesn't happen overnight, and most spirits remain in the spiritual world for decades or even a century before reincarnating. And you, what are you doing today to prepare for your own spiritual journey? What is your opinion on this? Leave your comment. See you in the next video. Peace profound.